All right, really excited to have my next guest. She was hard to track down. She's a very busy lady, especially this time of year. As we ramp up towards nationals. Really, when you're hearing this episode, we're literally 3 or 4 days away. So I don't want to make her wait any longer. Welcome, Emily Kless, Tops Communications Manager. Welcome to the show.
Hey, John, I'm so excited to be here. And yeah, the lead up to the national, I feel like there's no better time than for me to be on.
Yeah, it's perfect. And again, I appreciate you making time for the show. I know you're very busy. Busy. Some other people think like you just do appearances and podcasts all day, but obviously you do a lot more than that. So I want to start off with you guys just released the 2022 flagship design. I got to be honest with you, I love it. I wasn't huge on the 2021. This is, to me, in my opinion, a lot better. I like it. As soon as I saw it, I retweeted it and, expressed my positive opinion. Can you kind of let, people listening to the show kind of behind the scenes, like, how early, is the design team or whoever are they already working on like 2023 design now, or when does that sort of start? How does that whole process work?
No, I'm glad to hear that you like the design. I think a lot of people, from what I've seen, have shared in that sentiment, which is great to see. So we're already excited just for 2022 based off of the design alone. So that's huge. But it's really a year-long process, which is crazy to think about. And the design team, this is one of the products where almost everyone on the design team kind of has a shot at choosing what the flagship design or getting to create the flagship design. So they have a couple rounds of feedback and they narrow it down, and there's one lucky designer whose design gets chosen for the year. And that process is already beginning again for 2023. So definitely really interesting and fun to see the behind the scenes of it all come together. But for me personally, more fun when I know that we're going to drop the announcement on social and there's going to be lots of opinions and reactions. That's kind of the fun part for me, is just to see how it gets digested and see what people say. But I'd say so far so good, which is a good thing.
Yeah, so that's one person. They kind of won out what they came up with, if I heard you right. Is that correct?
Just about. I think from what I understand, there's a few different designers. They all kind of come up with what they would want to see as next year's design, and then goes through a couple of rounds of feedback internally, and they land on a design, and I suppose that designer gets bragging rights for the year.
I was going to ask you if that person, whoever wins out, they kind of get to hold that over their teammates.
I know
head,
I would.
If you will, it's almost like a title belt. They hold it for the year, and then they got to try to defend it next year, unless someone else takes it away. It's clean. I'm sort of a white border kind of guy. Like that sort of does it for me. Last year's, if I had a complaint, I'm an older guy, so my eyesight doesn't get better as I get older. So it was a little hard to read the names. It might be more of an indictment on me than Tops there, but this year's or 2022. It looks a lot. It's bigger font and cleaner, and 2 thumbs up for me for the 2 cents that's worth.
Yeah, no, of course. I think a lot of people share your opinion too, and I think the cool part about 2022's design is it really is a reflection of the feedback from 2021, right? And that's so important, and that's why, in my opinion, social media is important, and why podcasts are important, and why blogs are important. It's all of that feedback that really gets listened to and taken into account, and just improved upon the next year. So no knock to 2021, but we always just try to do it bigger, do it better year over year, and that will always be the goal. So definitely glad to hear that you like 2022. I think I'm excited about it too. I think parallels will look really nice on it, and just some of the other design elements I think will really look nice on that design.
So you're coming to the Tops. I know you were at Tops even before the role you're now in. You're following someone who's very popular in Sue's. I mean, talk about the dynamic in that. Do you know her very well? How was that transition
Sure.
for you?
So I came to Tops, I think about 4 years ago, probably 5 years ago, in the digital division. So I was the
Yeah.
community manager for our mobile apps, and it was such a different world. The digital apps, it was really, really interesting, and so I had some overlap with Sue's, but she obviously set a great precedent for what social could be and should be and can be. So couldn't don't say I had much overlap with her, but the short conversations we did have towards her end of her career at Tops was nothing short of enjoyable, and I think it's really cool to also follow in a woman's footsteps. Just because we need women in sports and we need women's voices to be heard, and so Sue's left a great groundwork for that, and there's lots that different directions that we'd like to go in, different things that we've been trying to do over the past 2 years to make social just different from what it was 2 or 3 years ago, but it's just coming from a new lens now, so all we do is, like I said, try to do it bigger and better every year over year, and so far I think we've done that on social.
Yep, yep. And you bring up a good point. I want to sort of piggyback off. We're seeing a lot more women in the hobby, which I'll be the first to tell you it's very important. As someone who's been in the hobby for 30 years, we're seeing, to me, in my opinion, the most that I've seen in 30 years. I think it's important in many roles, in executive positions. I went to the Dallas show. A lot more dealers are female, which I think is really cool. I think a lot more collectors in social media with even podcasts. We have Sam Shuford doing Women in the Hobby, which is awesome. She's been on the show. What do you think is just the normal kind of the hobby being very successful, kind of booming? I mean, do you attribute it to anything else?
Yeah, no, it's great to see the influx of women, and even just I think the platforms now that we're able to give such different voices in the hobby. You're not, just hearing from the same few folks, but there's really a range of people and voices that you're hearing that are creating content and sharing their collections and running podcasts and being on podcasts and everything in between. So it's really important. I've emailed with Sam before. She's awesome. I think that having even a podcast and an Instagram presence, called Women in the Hobby, I think that totally kicks butt. So yeah, there's lots of really cool stuff that you're seeing. But I think the hobby as a whole right now is just, it's hot, right? It's a
Yeah.
great place to be. It's a great community to be part of. There's been such an influx of just people flocking to the hobby over the past year and a half now, really. And while this, I don't think was any surprise to us because of this upward trend that we had been seeing for, really the past decade even, I still think that it's just so encouraging to see. And for me personally, knowing that this type of attention around the hobby happened on a year where Topps was celebrating its 70th anniversary, I thought those stars couldn't have aligned much better, to be part of an organization that is that old, but is that, so deep rooted in the hobby. I think is just a really, really neat time to be part of Topps, both on, the staffing side, but also a Topps collector right now, because it's a special year.
Yeah, and it's what I told Sam when she was on too, to see women doing big things in the hobby. Like I said, from the very top of an executive position to just being a collector for young girls that see it. It gives them the aspiration. Hey, I can do that. I can be that, and I think that's important. In that aspect as well.
100%. You can be what you can see, right? And
Yeah.
if we have people that are visible, stepping into those roles, leading those roles, it's important. It just paves the way for what's to come.
Yeah. All right. I got to ask you a couple kind of questions that kind of go together. Everyone probably thinks, I mean, I'm sure you love your job and have a passion for it. What's the toughest part of what you do?
I do love my job for sure. Let's see, the toughest part. That's such a good question, John, because I think that the toughest part is knowing what we can be and not yet having the resources to get there. And I'll elaborate a little bit. I think I mean that in a few different ways, such as bringing customer service to our social platforms and having a presence on social. I think we're not up to speed there yet, and that's something that I would hope that would happen in my tenure with Tops. I also mean that in a way of our content team, which we are slowly creating. There's such a hunger out there to watch content, to digest content from all places across the hobby. And we are starting to assemble a bit of a content team that can actually bring some really, high quality produced videos showing, for example, our time at MLB All-Star in Denver, the happenings at the Topps booth, just really bring that to life in a way that people who might not be able to be at the event, might not be able to be at the National, they can still follow along with the Topps channels and either feel like they're there or feel like they know what's going on and included and just enjoy watching the events unfold on social. So I think that, it takes a really long time to steer a big ship or to turn a big ship, but we're slowly getting there. We're definitely putting in the building blocks right now for what Topps can be in the future. And that's super important. So definitely, the toughest part is having patience for that all to unfold, because Rome was built in a day.
Yeah, and so to be fair, I'll ask the reverse. What's the best part of what you do? I know that's probably a long list, but I'll let you answer the question.
Yes, there is so many amazing pieces that goes into my job, which is just I think the best part for me is really getting to talk to the people in the hobby, even just being on a podcast like this with you, and knowing that folks are listening and knowing that we get to just chat about baseball cards for 30 minutes and chat about Topps. It's really all about the connections that you make, I think, in this hobby. We of course know what we pull out of our packs, but it's oftentimes who you're pulling those cards with, who you're breaking with, who you're talking to, who you're sending your polls to on a daily basis. That's really what makes up the hobby. And so for me personally, it's getting to meet people, whether it's on the ground at events or virtually through a podcast like this. It's just the connections that you make. And I think that's one thing I'm really excited for about the National, is to finally be back in person and get to meet so many people that I've either talked to via email or online this past year, or just meet people who will be at the show, who will have the opportunity to meet, who will swing by the Topps booth. So I'm really looking forward to that, especially.
Yeah, the stories. The tagline of the show, not to self promote, but is the hobby is the people, and I think you sort of illustrated that in your answer right there. The stories behind the cards. Who was with you when you pulled that big hit, or when you got that box, or you bought that card. It's all those stories of people you meet, like you said, at the National, and hearing how they got into cards, how it all really started for them. I think we don't put in, sometimes we forget and don't put enough value on all those sort of not behind the music but behind the cards stories.
Yeah, I love that. The hobby is the people. It really is what it is. It's such an appropriate tagline. And I think too, I personally, I still collect with my dad. We'll sit down and rip open packs together. And it's just it's a bond that I don't think you can really understand unless you do that with someone or with various people, whether it's part of, being part of a breakers community or your local hobby shop. No matter what it is, it's just, it's the people that make up the experience. And I think even Topps too, just over the past few years, we've really tried to shift the focus into our experiential events and into more than just, collecting cards, but what you're getting outside of the pack, that full Topps experience. And, the Nationals part of that, MLB All-Stars part of that, our promotions like 70th anniversary party and celebration of the decade, those are all part of the emphasis on the experience transcendent. I mean, all of our various events. So I think it's cool to see the way that has really shaped what Topps does over the past couple of years.
Yeah, and like they're the original. I mean, other than some of the pre war stuff. I mean, it's just they're synonymous with baseball cards. I opened my first pack as a 7 year old. I'm old. It was 1979, and my grandfather in the corner store in Brooklyn, by the way, home birthplace of Tops, and
There you go.
the rest is history. Here we're in 2021, and it's those things, those moments that I can't remember what I had for dinner 2 nights ago, but I can remember, 41 years ago, Emily, with my grandfather and that box of cards on the counter, and him asking me, "Hey, would you like a couple packs?" And obviously, as a 7 year old, you say, "Sure, sure would." And here we are, all these years later. So I got to ask you, just if there is a complaint this year, and it's and in Tops's defense, it's not just Tops. I think across the board, we've seen some customer service issues. You kind of touched on it a little bit in the toughest part of what you do, sort of question. Uh, why do you think that is, and what are ways that you maybe I don't know I don't know what you can or cannot talk about, but is there improvements maybe coming down the line for someone who's frustrated? Hey, things will get better, that sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%. It's something we're very aware of, and it's something that we want to make right by our collectors because that's what they deserve. I think it was a real staffing issue this past year. Of course, due to COVID and some of the challenges we faced there, that was also put an influx of customer service inquiries, and also the amount of people that flocked to the hobby too was so kind of quick and sudden in a way that I think it was just more that than our small team could handle. But looking to the future, definitely adding staff in any way, shape, or form that's happening behind the scenes. I know that's something that's been ongoing for the past couple of months. So slowly trying to get our way back there. And then, yeah, as I alluded to before, I mean, I personally think that, we could move into a space given the appropriate staff and resources and ability to do so where, our social presence also includes a customer service component. But, unfortunately not there yet, but I would say that there's definitely a brighter future ahead, and Tops is doing what they can and, certainly recognizes the problem that people have been facing this year.
I can only speak for myself too. I had two minor issues with some product, and I reached out, and they were both handled pretty promptly. I was pleasantly surprised. I can only speak for myself as someone who goes on the Top site probably almost every day, if not every day. I want there's now a chat component where someone can maybe type in an issue or concern and maybe get a solution too. So like you said, Rome wasn't built in a day, and again, pandemic, staffing issues, and you make a great point. People, I don't think always take this into consideration, Emily. There's been a mass influx of a lot of new hobbyists as well, and so everything has went up exponentially with that influx, and that's a great thing. With more people, and I'm not complaining about it, but I'm just saying some other things sort of suffer as a result of that.
Yeah, listen, it's all growing pains, right? Tops hasn't been perfect for 70 years running. Tops has made mistakes for 70 years, and you learn from them and grow from them and understand what you can do differently, what you can do better. Like I keep alluding to, it's always about being bigger and better year over year. So, it's unfortunate because I think from my perspective, I see it every day on social, and going back to the toughest part of my job, it's tough that I can't help everyone in the way that I think that we should, or the way that I envision the Tops channels being able to. But, it's just the reality from my perspective. And I think that hopefully that is something that the organization will move towards, however slowly that happens.
Yeah, no doubt. Patient, like you say, patience is important. Everyone wants stuff yesterday too, so it's a double sided
Yeah,
coin.
we live in a world of instant gratification, instant satisfaction, and but that's who we are as a society, and that's
Yeah,
okay too. I think that's the fun part about ripping packs of cards because it's whatever comes out of that pack next. You're just like, oh man, this is it, and I think cards is no different from that.
yeah. So I gotta, hats off to Tops. You got the Tops truck now. Very cool. I haven't seen it in person. I've seen it in pictures and social media. Just a great concept, a great idea. Just kind of, I'm going to probably ask you more questions off that, but just give you a chance. Kind of, where did that come from, and how did it get born? And I mean, it's here now, but where did it all come from?
Yeah, I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago. This is before my time in the role, but they had the pop-up truck for just like a one-day activation surrounding National Baseball Card Day. And they actually did it in Brooklyn, which is awesome, the birthplace of Topps. So I thought it was just super cool. And we had plans to bring it back and do it, bigger this past year, which of course COVID put a halt on, but we're back in 2021. So yeah, we wrapped it in 11,000 plus baseball cards, which is so crazy to think about. And we decided, let's launch it at MLB All-Star in each, every weekend, the Friday and Saturday of every weekend, it will stop in a new city. And the idea really is to just promote National Baseball Card Day and get people who maybe still aren't extremely familiar with Topps or are still the ones that saying, hey, I remember Topps. I can't believe they're still around. Get those people rekindled and re-engage them in the hobby. So the really idea behind the truck is to promote National Baseball Card Day and try and grab some new consumers and just continue spreading the name of Topps. So yeah, we'll be in a different weekend city each weekend, handing out free packs of cards. You will have also just different activations on site, which are fun. We've got this life-size card frame that you can stand inside and take a photo so you can become your own baseball card right at the truck. We've got our mobile card wall, which is one of my favorite things. Having the card wall at all of our events is just so neat. So it's kind of cool to think that, as the truck makes its way from Denver to Chicago, that you have these people trading with the next stop, essentially, which I just think is a cool thing. And yeah, lots of other fun goodies. So this upcoming weekend, we're going to be in Cleveland, which will be at the Fox 8 news station in Cleveland on Friday. That's July 23rd. They have this great event called Stuff the Bus that encourages all of the local Cleveland folk to come out and bring donations of school supplies that then benefit students in need. And the Topps truck will actually be at Fox 8 news station all day as the donations are being accepted, as they're literally stuffing buses full of school supplies, donated school supplies. So it'll be nice to kind of interact with the local community that's already coming out to do something great for their community that day. So really looking forward to Cleveland. And then, of course, National Baseball Card Day is the big one. So I think we're probably going to bring that one home to the New York City area for National Baseball Card Day.
Yeah, I got to ask you. So this truck, it drives to the location that it's headed to, right?
Yes,
Well,
correct. Yeah, we have a
all
whole
right.
team that heads up the truck. Not Topps employees, but this great group of folks that have put this whole truck together for us. They've been excellent to work with. It's got this awesome Topps, I don't even know what to call it. It's like the logo, but it's on the grill of the truck. It's like something out of like Pimp My Ride. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I love the way the truck looks. I got to see it when I was out in Denver and, take a little tour inside of it. And it was just like the coolest thing. So it's funny with these types of activations because you work on it for so long and you see the renderings and the behind the scenes. But then once you get to be on site, in person with the truck, it's just like, wow, this actually is really, really cool. Like we did this, we made this happen, and now it's traveling 7,000 miles, handing out baseball cards. So I will not personally be driving the truck. I don't think Topps has the insurance for that one. But yeah, I will be with it at a few stops that line up with my schedule that I'm able to travel to.
Yeah, probably a couple competing companies, maybe kicking themselves like, why didn't we think of a truck? But I got to ask you, you said 11,000 cards on the outside. How are they protected from the elements?
Yeah, they
Right.
put this sort of like glossy coat over all of the cards, so that way they're all fastened to the truck. A lot of previous like base cards, like 2020 base cards, 2019. But it's cool because there is such a mix of cards on there that you could just stand at the truck all day and like look through every single card that's on it and find something new and different each time you look. So yeah, it looks super cool. I know that a popular question is, will it be at the National? It's not going to be at the National that weekend. We would have loved to have it there, but I think from our marketing standpoint and the communication standpoint, to be able to have Tops's presence in Chicago while the truck still has a presence in another city that weekend, that's the most effective use for how we envision the truck promoting National Baseball Card Day and bringing awareness to it. But yeah, it's been lots of good feedback from it so far, so I'm excited to see the rest of its journey.
Yeah, I just have a vision in my mind of people trying to take the cards off the truck.
They can come right up to the window. We'll give them a free pack. Even
There you
better.
go.
Even better.
There you go. Don't peel the cards off. We got some for you right here. Good segue. You mentioned the National, where when this airs, we're going to be literally 3 days away. Looking forward to it. I'm sure you are as well. Kind of speak to some of the events and things. Have you been? This kind of goofy question. I'm assuming you've been. This is not your first National, right? You've been.
Yeah, this is not my first National, but it is my first National with Tops. So
Okay.
I get to see a different side of it this time.
Yeah.
So I still feel a little bit like a rookie, which I'm excited about because it's almost like first day jitters. But yeah, I mean, our events team just kicks butt. Total kudos and hats off to our events team and the whole marketing team, which I'm fortunate enough to be a part of at Tops. They just do such an incredible job with the booth, with the programming, all of the really unique stuff we have going on. And so yeah, this year at the National, a lot of the same types of programming that you've seen in prior years we'll have back, such as Rapper Redemption and some signers at the booth and guest appearances. But we've got a couple of Project 70 artists that I think will be stopping by, one of them being Ben Baller. So we're excited to host him on, I believe it's going to be Thursday at the National. So we're excited for that. And we'll also be having our box break on the main stage. I think that happens on Wednesday night for VIPs. But yeah, we've got really, I think this year, what I'm excited about most about our booth is that in honor of our 70th anniversary, what we really tried to do was just, bring the history of Tops to life in the booth itself. In the panels, you see everything it's decorated with, what we have inside the booth, and just kind of bring that feel of the 70th anniversary. So one of the coolest parts is on the backside of the booth, there's, cards all the way back, dating back to the 50s and our first set in 51, all the way through each decade or era of Tops, and QR codes that you can scan the QR code and it brings you to a video on our YouTube page that tells you all about Tops in that specific decade. So I know it's like a tiny thing that anyone else would probably just walk by the booth and say, oh, that's cool, and moving on. But for me to, I think, see that kind of stuff come to life over this past year and see the thought that has gone into it, into creating this booth and really making it interactive, making it sticky for people to want to come and check out, has been really cool to see. So we had, just a taste of it at MLB All-Star at Play Ball Park in Denver, but we're giving the National the whole thing.
Yeah, 70 years of history. You got to embrace that. I mean, for any business, we can outside the hobby, just any industry, any business that can withstand 70 years and be successful and doing well. I mean, you got to embrace that and embrace your past. You wouldn't be. That's all of us, right? We wouldn't be where we are now if it wasn't for things that happened in the past. And I think that's 70 years of history is a long time, and there's nothing wrong. I think it's a beautiful thing to embrace and say, hey, here's where we started, here's where we went, and here's where we are now, and illustrate that. Not everyone maybe knows that. It can be enlightening, and I think, like you said, being an interactive, I mean, people love interactive stuff. They feel sort of part of the process involved in that, and probably I know I'll be for sure checking it out as well as many other people. I think the National this year, is going to be tremendous, especially off a year where we lost it. People think it's really 1 year absence. It's really two when you think about it, because the last one was also in Chicago in 2019. So it's been, in a sense, 2 years since we've had the National. I think a lot of people are ready. looking to sort of get back out there and seeing people in person. I mean, part of the national, you alluded it yourself, Emily, is just meeting people that you know, sort of the one event a year, right? The week long where you get to see people and meet people maybe for the first time or not the first time. And so I think the fact that we lost that last year in Atlantic City, I think we're going to see, you know, the National itself has announced many of the packages have sold out. They only have single day passes. So it's going to be quite the event. It already is. I think it's going to be probably even more so this year with losing one to the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone's just so excited to be back in person, right? And be back together, doing what we love to do, which is just enjoying the hobby. And yeah, I think you know, it's cool. Like I said, it's just cool to see the booth come together from my perspective, and think of the ways that your watch the team think of the ways that we can improve it year over year. I think this year we're going to have some case breakers come join us and do some breaks right at the Tops booth, where hopefully some participants there live can maybe even win a spot in the break. You know, we're just trying to think of different ways of how we can improve the experience for our collectors at the National. And, you know, we feel some sense of responsibility while the National organizers put on an amazing show. I think Tops too also feels like, hey, we have to do this for our people. You know, we have to show up for our people, for our collectors, our consumers, and we have to give them the best experience possible. And so we're definitely striving for that this year. It's going to be fun. I've had 2 years. I came into this role probably the end of like 2019, I want to say, and 4 short months later, that was it with the pandemic. So I've been emailing so many people and seeing so many people virtually on podcasts and FaceTime and what have you, and Zoom and Teams and Skype and all of those other crazy platforms we've all had to learn this year. But so it'll just be really nice to be able to chat with people in person.
Yeah, and like you said, even though it's not your first, it's your first in the position that you hold now. So it's sort of kind of like you said, a different perspective, a different angle that you get to see it from a different lens, and that'll be exciting on a personal level for you as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think what I'm most excited about too, which I know I spoke to earlier, is just being able to bring the event to life for also people who may not be able to be there. Because while there is going to be a large amount of people there, and I'm excited to meet everyone on the ground at the booth, there's also a lot of people that can't make it for various reasons. And I think the top social team and our content team, we feel that our responsibility is to still be able to bring the event to life for people who can't necessarily be there or may only be there for one day, or, you know, no matter what it is. So I'm looking forward to just taking a ton of pictures and videos and getting to blast it out there and show everyone, you know, the good time that's being had at the Tops booth.
Yeah, and then after the National, like you said, you got National Baseball Card Day. And I got to ask you, you know, as fun as it is, it's also a grind too. A lot of travel and promotional stuff. Like you get some vacation time or decompress time. How does that work?
I'll sleep when I'm dead. No, it's all good, John. I mean, I'm not here to complain because I do love what I do. And I just, you know, the experience of being oftentimes in person, that's the most rewarding part of all, right? It's when I don't get to travel. It's when I'm not at the events that it feels like more of a grind. And then once you're there, you're just like awakened with this renewed energy, this new sense of, you know, hey, this is why we do this. This is why we put in the long hours. This is why we're traveling from Denver and Play Ball Park, tearing down the booth, setting it back up at the National while holding transcendent events in between and every other event that comes thereafter, while also still planning for National Baseball Card Day and making sure products like Ginter get their, you know, time in the spotlight. So there's just you know, a lot that goes into it that I think behind the scenes, like I said, marketing team at Tops, you know, all the teams at Tops that I get to work with are just such good people and really enjoy what they do and like being part of the hobby, which I think is just a really cool and unique kind of thing. But yeah, specifically the marketing team, they just work their butts off, and it's really cool to watch from my perspective because they put in a ton of work, and then you know, I get to be on the ground watching it all come to life and helping bring it all to life, at least from the social perspective and the comms perspective. So yeah, it's all good stuff. I'm excited. I'm also admittedly excited that National Baseball Card Day and the truck will be in the NYC metro area because that's close to home for me. But other than that, no, I'm happy to travel away because it's a really cool hobby that, and community that we're a part of.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, being we lost it last year, I think it's going to be, well, they're always great, but I think they'll be a little bit extra special. We kind of, it's the old, you don't appreciate, sometimes you don't appreciate something till it's gone. And it was kind of gone for, in a sense, 2 years. And I think people are chopping at the bit to, get to Chicago and enjoy the festivities. I'm looking forward to meeting you there as well, and maybe talking with you a little bit more. And obviously enjoy the National. And I appreciate you making time. I know you're real busy, Emily, and I know the listeners feel the same way. I want to give you sort of the last word here. Give out any website info, promotional stuff, anything you take your time, anything you want to promote or highlight. The floor is yours, as I always say.
Yeah, thanks, John. No, the feeling's mutual. To you and even anyone who's listening, like, please come find me at the Topps booth. Please say hello. I mean it when I say I love meeting people and hearing everyone's stories. It just, makes what we do so worth it and so worthwhile. And it brings a great feeling. But yeah, follow us at Topps on social, first and foremost, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, our newfound YouTube presence, which we're trying to build up. So give us a subscribe there. But anything Topps.com you could go to for all the latest cards. Project 70's on there, some great stuff from Project 70 and the artists. And National Baseball Card Day, Saturday, August 7th. We're going to have info about the hobby shops that are participating. Come to our website, Topps.com/National Baseball Card Day. So you can head there for any info, but make sure you're posting your polls with the hashtag ToppsNBCD that day so we can all share what we've got on National Baseball Card Day. But yeah, thank you again, John. Really appreciate it. And thanks for having me on. I'm so looking forward to the Nationals. So this is a great start to what will be a good National weekend. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, the only problem it goes too quick. It seems like it's like a blur. It's like it's over.
You blink and it's over. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, again, thanks, Emily, for making time for the show, and I'll see you in a week.
Can't wait, John.
All right, take care.